Hello and welcome to this video about Pandas for data handling. We're excited to have you here, and in this video we're going to talk about Pandas operations and techniques and teach you how to select a subset of columns, features or variables from a data frame. This is one of the most common tasks in data science and machine learning, to work with subsets of data from a data frame. And in this video we will teach you the most common, useful and general methods to select columns or variables from a data frame. Columns, features or variable selection. What is it? Column selection is simply about selecting a number n of columns from a total number of n of columns in the data frame. The word column refers to the technical aspects of a Pandas data frame column. The word feature and variable refers to the contents of such a column. The difference between variables and features is extremely small, but usually variable refers to the mathematical or statistical properties of the column content, whereas the word feature refers to the properties of the abstraction described by the contents of the column, or which the column's contents represent or are meant to represent. And these words are often used without considerations to the meaning of the words when talking about column selection in the everyday use of Pandas data frame column selections. And the word selection in Pandas means to create a subset view of a data frame, whereas another word, extraction or copying, usually refers to creating a subset copy of a data frame. And here in the PowerPoint we have some examples of this slight difference. And in this video we will only do selections from a data frame. So we will create new views of the data frame and not new copies of the data frame. Although in the code it can be quite an abstraction to see this difference. And now we're going to type some column selection code, so start up your code editors. Alright, having started our Jupyter Labs notebooks, we will begin with our standard car sales data frame. And we will begin by importing Pandas as PID. We will use our car data dictionary to create our car sales data frame. We will rename the index and we will rename the index labels, and we will print the car sales data frame to make sure that everything has been constructed properly. So let's run this code. And here we can see our car sales data frame in one piece. And today we will talk about selection of columns, and we will begin by selecting a named single column as a Pandas series object. We type print car sales, and we can take the data column like this. And if you want to address this series and not print it, we just put a name on it and equals. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we printed the data part of the series. And if we want to select a single column and have it returned as a Pandas data frame. We type print car sales, and we can use the Ford column this time, like this, and we run this code, and here we can see that we had a Pandas data frame with a single column returned. This is an interesting difference between instructions to Pandas. And we can select many columns. We type Ford, Mercedes, and Tata. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we have selected the 3 columns which we named with this code. And when we make this type of selection, we can change the order of columns simply by changing the order which we name the columns in. We can type Tata, Ford, and Mercedes. And when we run this code, the data frame will be ordered in the order we have typed our selection. And we type car sales. So let's run this code. And here we can see that our selected subset of the data frame is now ordered in the same way as we typed it. And this can be very useful when you create table graphics and similar things. And we can make selections using, for example, the iloc function. And iloc is short for integer locate. So we make selections of integers using the iloc function. So for example, if we want to select column number 1 in the data frame, and that is the Ford column, we type print car sales, so iloc, colon, comma, 1, like this. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we have selected the Ford column. And because we added these extra brackets, we have a data frame returned with the Ford name and everything. And we can select column number 1 and 2. And we can borrow this code. And here we just add comma number 2. So let's run this code. And here we can see that Ford and Tata has been selected. And Mercedes is number 0, Ford is number 1, and Tata is number 2 in our data frame. And we can select column number 0 and 1. And we print our car sales, iLock, comma, 0:2. And here we use a list slicing of the columns. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we have selected the Mercedes and Ford columns for our subset of the data frame. And we can use the locate function. Or lock function. And we want to select the Ford column. So we type print car sales dot lock. We use the same sort of selection strategy as for the iLock function, but here we can type Ford instead of an integer number. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we selected the Ford column. And if we want to select, for example, the Mercedes and the Tata column, we type print car sales dot locate Mercedes, Tata, like this. And let's run this code. And here we can see that we selected the Mercedes and the Tata columns. And we can go back to the iLock function. And we can, for example, select first column of a data frame. And we can type print car sales dot iLock. Like this. And let's run this code. And here we can see that we selected a series. And it is the Mercedes. And that was the first column. And if we, for example, want to select column column 2, we type print car sales dot iLock 1. like this. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we have the Ford column returned as is series. And if we want to select the last column of a data frame, we type print car sales .iloc -1 and a colon. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we returned a data frame with the last Renault column. And here we can see a pattern of return types. So for example, here we got a data frame, here we got a series, and this is one of the things which is necessary to keep track on. And we can, for example, copy this code, and we can put a pair of extra brackets on it. And we add brackets, and we run this code. And here we can see that by adding this extra pair of brackets, which created a single object list, we now have a data frame returned. And it is my personal opinion when it comes to series and data frames that data frames is the future and that you should always operate on a data frame as a standard. But there is an exception to this rule, and this is when you use other libraries, because they usually expect you to deliver a NumPy array or a list or a dictionary. And in these cases, Pandas series often are directly, without typing any code, translatable to these NumPy arrays or lists or dictionaries. And this means that creating either a list or a series will make the library function as intended without typing any extra code. For example, converting your data frame to the specific dimensions of a NumPy array or something similar. And this is something that will disappear, this little exception, over time, over the years, when libraries and pandas develop and become even more integrated. This little thing or issue will disappear. But currently we must be able to handle it, and therefore this difference between series and data frames and how you type code is very important to know and understand. So, as the final part of this video, we will make a selection of both rows and columns using the iloc function. We type print car sales iloc 0:2, comma 0:2, like this. And this instruction will select the first two columns and the first two rows of the data frame. And because a data frame consists of series objects as columns, fundamentally, these are actually two different functions in one. So the first part of the function concerns the columns to the right and will select these columns. And the second function is the part to the left, and it will select a subset of rows. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we selected the first two columns, Mercedes and Ford, and the first two sales places using this instruction. So, in the next video, you will learn about Pandas data frames, row and index number selections, and also some list slicing of the same type which we made in the last line of code here in this video. And we look forward to see you in the next video.